So I've got this really beautiful piece of Ambrosia maple, and my client wants me to make an entryway bench out of this. The challenge that I have is this is 4 feet by 2 feet, and the entryway bench needs to be 5 feet wide, not 4 feet wide. The fortunate thing is the bench only needs to be about 14 or 15 inches deep, so I only need it to be about yay deep, which is a good thing because that gives me plenty of excess material to work with on getting this to 5 feet wide, not 4 feet wide. One obvious solution that may come to mind is just to take the excess material and get a foot of depth out of it by 14.5 inches and plop it right here and just butt joint it right here. So here's an offcut from another maple board that I have. This is showing the end grain, and what this would be is a butt joint that is end grain to end grain. So imagine that this block is actually 1 feet deep by 14.5 inches. You can just glue that, butt joint it there. That is potentially an option. I'm not gonna do it that way for two reasons. One is aesthetics and two is safety. The aesthetic reason is, you know, as you can see on this board, it's a lot of horizontal lines, and I think it won't look as good when you'll see a bunch of horizontal lines on 80% of the board, and then suddenly you'll see that get broken up on the last 20% by a very obvious butt joint. But I think that the more important reason is actually safety, and what I mean by safety is glue strength. And end grain to end grain butt joint is not terribly strong. As it turns out, there may be enough surface area over 14.5 inches that this is strong enough for someone to sit on the bench with all their weight, or even two people, and it to be fine. But because it's a bench, because 2 or 3 people may be sitting on it, because if the glue joint fails, someone could get hurt, I'm gonna go with a safer route here. And I'll show you a more digital animation of how I can make this more safe by gluing it a little bit differently. So the goal here is to take this 2 foot by 4 foot butcher block and turn it into something that's actually 5 feet wide. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a few cuts, and I'm going to make 3 long strips that are about 5 inches each. So I'm going to take a strip off the butcher block there, and I'm going to move it in here. I'm actually not going to make it a perfect fit. I'm going to make it slightly offset and outside, because you always want oversized pieces, and then you can cut down to your actual dimensions. I'm going to cut another 5-inch piece, 5-inch deep piece, we'll call it. And this time I'm going to stagger it on the right hand side. Then lastly, I'm going to do one more. This will fill up most of it. It'll be in line with the top piece. Again, slightly oversized. Let me just get it right up there. And then I will also move this block so it's a little bit more obvious that it's a decent fit. You see I still have these other spaces here, not a big deal. I'm going to take actually a 4th piece that's 5 inches deep, and I'm going to cut it into thirds. So the way I'm going to show that is to animate it. Let's see, this needs to be 4 units wide on this scale. So let's move it right here and shrink it down to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's one piece. There's a third piece, and sorry, second piece and a third piece. So I've taken that 5-inch strip, cut it into 3 pieces, and I'm going to fill the gaps here, just like that. And now you can see out of that 2 foot by 4 foot butcher block, I am able to sufficiently fill up 14.5 inches by 5 feet wide. The other nice thing is if you look at the sides outside of the white rectangle, I'm actually not wasting too much material. Like, in my opinion, that's an acceptable amount of waste material for something like this. So again, a 2 foot by 4 foot butcher block, very little waste material. I've got a solid 4-inch by 4 foot piece that I can use in a future project. And overall, I'm glad with how much usable material I'm able to get out of this butcher block. So one question you may have is, why did I choose 5 inches? There's 2 reasons. One reason is it makes the math easy. If I need it to be ultimately 14.5 inches deep, well, instead of dividing 14.5 by 3, I divided 15 by 3. I rounded it up. Again, you want to start with an oversized glue up, and then you can get it down to the actual dimensions that you want. Second reason is because I wanted these pieces not to be obviously too small, because that'd require a lot of cuts, but also not too large. I wanted to ultimately run these through the thickness planer so that I can get nice clean edges when I did a glue up in the next step. Now you'll notice when I'm using this thickness planer, I am sending it through one of the strips first, and then I'm following it with the other boards, and I'm grabbing that first piece and putting it in last. What that does is it eliminates planer snipe on any of the pieces that are going through in the middle, and I'm taking the tacks of all the planer snipe all in one piece. I actually realized after the fact what I could have done is basically do the same piece or do the same tactic, but take that front piece and turn it around so that I'm not introducing snipe on both ends of the board. I'm only introducing snipe on one end of the board. So that's a neat little trick in order to eliminate planar snipe for these kinds of operations. And here I'm effectively going to be doing a dry fit where I show the staggered look. I have one long piece with one short piece following it closely after. Then I stagger it with the neighboring pieces. I didn't mention earlier, but this is what makes it such a stronger glue joint compared to a butt joint is this is a long grain glue up as opposed to an end grain glue up. So the actual strength comes from those three long pieces being glued together, and that'll be more than sufficient to hold the entire bench together. One thing to note here is the end grain to end grain glue up. So the small pieces that are being glued up against the longer pieces, it's not quite a tight fit, and that's okay. Again, the strength comes from the longer pieces being glued together. Regardless, I knew there's going to be a gap, so I filled it with glue, let the glue seep in there, use some painter's tape to help make sure the glue didn't spread around further than I wanted to. And once that glue dried, I came back later after the fact, added a little bit more glue and sanded it over the top to basically make wood putty on site and help blend in that joint there. So it's always a good idea to test your ideas, even though you're fairly certain they're going to work. So I put two boards on the ground. I put the entryway bench across both of them, and then I got up on there. I'm more than 200 pounds. I have 50-pound dumbbells in my hands. So that's more than 300 pounds of static weight. And by bobbing up and down, the real weight, the real force I'm applying to this is probably upwards of more than 400 pounds. And you can see the bench flexes as it should, but it doesn't crack, it doesn't break, it doesn't catastrophically fail. That's a good thing. So I'm pretty confident that this bench is well constructed. Lastly, I add some finishing touches. So what I did was I got my hand plane out and I got rid of a lot of the ridges that were between the boards as a result of having not a perfectly ideal glue up. You can see my hand plane technique isn't great, but also that's in part by design. I'm not going for a perfectly flat and perfectly machined bench top here. With this technique that I'm using, it does have chip out, and again, that's actually on purpose because then I can come back with a sander later on and I smooth those out and just help give the top of this entryway bench a little bit more character. A couple more notes on the finishing process here. So as I said earlier, I glued this and constructed it to be oversized on purpose so that I can come in after the fact and trim off the edges and make it the exact dimensions that I wanted it. And lastly, my client wanted a live edge look. Although I don't have a live edge piece included here, it's actually fairly simple to give the appearance of a live edge. And it's just as simple as more or less coming at it with a hand plane and trying not to be too symmetrical. I just kind of going wild, let your mind wander and come up with different curvy edges here and then smooth it off with a sander. And it kind of ends up being a pretty decent and pretty convincing live edge look. Lastly, I attached the legs, I applied some finish, and now this bench is done. Here are a few photos of the finished product. Thanks for watching.